So what's been happening? We had Shane go up to France again for a little while and is back and straight into it. Yarrick is putting all the foam into the holes that Aidan and Harry have been working on at the front beam there. And now we are looking at the lamination on the front longeron and front beam. We need to put the Martingale and the seagull striker on that and laminate what we didn't manage to do last time. We have painted the centerboards. They look awesome. The rudders are finished and we're just going to try and put some anti-foul on those maybe tonight, tomorrow, depending on humidity and the weather over the next few days. Got one of the sail drives out of the boat and serviced and painted, and we just need to get the second one out on the port side. So big focus is in trying to get that front beam sorted because we need the seagull striker but also the forestay attachment and anchor roller arrangement. Busy.
Working on the front beam with the Yarrick.
What are they going to do you know?
Oh yeah, they're going to reinforce it, put a lot of carbon on it and a lot of fiberglass. But, well, they are going to put fiberglass where it's connected to the hull then. I think they'll put carbon where it's connecting to the carbon bits.
Is Harry right, Shane?
Huh?
Fiberglass here and carbon where you are there, where the carbon to connect the carbon bits, hey?
Carbon there as well.
All carbon, Harry. Ooh.
More strong, more reinforcing.
Yeah. And he's doing something else too. He's getting ready to put Martingale and seagull striker on. Well, hang on, is it the same thing?
The seagull striker is the spreader.
Yeah?
And the Martingale is the
Oh, there you go.
cable that's going over it.
So start by wetting.
The substrate, so there's two ways of doing this. You can pre-wet all the fibre off the job, or you can pre-wet all the fibre on the job. And this one I'm choosing to do it on the job. Probably a bad idea, but I'll find out soon enough.
So let me guess, 400 grams?
400 grams double bias. Carbon.
Carbon. Last time we were using 400 gram double bias. It was the glass for repairing holes in the hull.
Yep. Playing with a different animal today.
resin for Shane. The mix is slow and hard, and he is doing the underneath of the beams today.
Setting the spreader up to glue it onto the longeron, so I need it to all sit still and stable. Like when I glue it, it sits in the right place and it's the correct angle backwards forwards and it's straight up and down side to side, and I don't have to touch it and the wind won't blow it over.
Why are we putting the spreader on, the seagull striker? Because we debated whether we were going to or not with this new arrangement, weren't we? Because the beam is theoretically strong enough without it.
Yeah, so the beam is definitely strong enough. The weakest link is the junction between the beam and the longeron, because it's discontinuous, where it means it doesn't continue through, mainly because I put that angle in it and I had two sections instead of one full section. So this junction sees a lot of load, and for me to put enough carbon in here to make it strong enough, the amount of carbon I have to put in here is more than the amount of carbon I need for this spreader and carbon martingale. And this arrangement will also be stiffer, so it will actually flex less because it turns into a big deep truss. So I end up with a stiffer beam and a lighter beam by doing this arrangement. It's just a little bit more faffing around.
And in our previous video where we actually showed the process of putting this front beam and longeron in,
Yeah.
the beam moved a little bit when you were gluing it. And has that been a problem? Because it wasn't very much, was it?
Nah.
So how many mil did it drop?
So this beam, well, the beam on the other side, big beam here, slid down the longeron 5 mil, which pushed the longeron off to this side. I think it was about 15 mil. I'd have to go and check it again, but it wasn't much and because the boat is actually not that square and straight, it's debatable whether it actually pushed it off to one side or not. But it was a nice advantage because it's now given me more room and clearance here to put my forestay pin in. So while it wasn't great, it's not bad either. Glue it, cove it in, cook it, and then hopefully by this afternoon I'll be able to laminate it in place and cook it tonight.
So that's work on the new front beam arrangement. And Shane's getting ready to laminate that spreader that he's just put on there. Okay, here's my man.
Some sticky stuff again.
Playing with sticky stuff. This is the Martingale. Am I correct? So we have, or Shane has put the spreader, which is our seagull striker, on the top of the longeron, and so now to stabilize it.
Well, this is what takes the forestay tension. Forestay through the spreader to the ends of the beam and into the hull, and this is the strap that takes it from the end of the spreader and into the hulls.
And we're going to make, it's going to be solid carbon, so it's not going to be a bit of...
It's not going to be a big lump of wire.
No, it's not going to be wire, it's going to be
Carbon strap.
a strap made of all of this unidirectional stuff.
Yep.
Which hopefully I've got it in the picture here. And the stuff that we had put aside went walkabout.
Some of it did, yeah.
Some of it did. So Shane's been frantically trying to piece together enough of this unidirectional fibre to make the strap. And we've got how many layers?
It's going to be 20 layers.
20 layers, dude! And is there a particular thickness to unidirectional, or is it usually come?
So this is 300 gram. So wet out and vacuum bagged or consolidated properly. It's generally 0.3 of a millimetre thick. So 0.3 of a mil thick, 20 layers gives us a 6 mil thick strap, and it's going to be 20 mil wide.
Okay. So you will actually laminate this up and put it under vacuum here?
No,
and
it's not going to go under vacuum. It's actually going to get clamps. So here's the mould here.
Okay. There's
I'm going to press mould it. So there's a loose piece here. So it'll go against this piece of alloy here. I'll lay it up against here, and then I'll get clamps and
sandwich it in.
Squish it in like that.
So then it's preformed here into one straight strap. Oh, I see. Look, yeah, I see what you've done here with that sort of A frame section there.
Yep.
So that is what it's going to be. We're going to lay it up, cook it.
It'll get post-cured, yeah.
But it doesn't need to be vacuum bagged.
No.
Not if we can clamp it. Squish it. If we
can.
can squish it down enough, we don't need to vacuum it.
Yep.
And the resin is a quick epoxy or a mix like we did with the other stuff.
Yeah,
It's quite cold today anyway.
yeah, but it's going to take me a while to do this because
Yeah.
I've got to fold this into 20 mil wide strips.
Oh, okay.
It'll be quite difficult.
What's that?
Working projects card.
Grey on grey. You want me to put some gloves on too?
Yeah, I'll need you to put gloves on stuff to help focus.
Okay, so I'm going to put some gloves on and give you a hand, and we might just put this on a time lapse, eh?
Yep.
Time putting strips of carbon onto a bit of metal on the table, and we've got, I think we already said how many layers, didn't we?
Yep, 20 layers. They give us approximately 6mm thickness.
And this is going to be our solid carbon fibre Martingale.
Yep.
And the next step is to squish it all together. So I want you to tell me about this little bad boy, because I have a whole heap of footage showing us sticking it all together, your 20 layers, and of clamping it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to show what we've got for it. Really messy.
The black strap.
But you said you were happy because this side was all nicely.
Well, it consolidated nicely, which was good. But table side is a nice straight square edge, and also because I clamped it with a 25mm piece of box section, I have a good straight edge to work to, so I can.
What are you going to do next?
Trim it down. I'm going to trim down this ruggedy, daggy, horrible razor blade edge.
Just with a sander?
Yeah, just with a sander. Will do just fine. Straighten it up with a little bit of a longboard, radius the edges. And then in the, where it goes over the spreader, there'll be a lot of work going on there. I can move it over.
It's not like, it's probably worth mentioning, it's not super stiff, is it? It's still got quite a bit of flex in it.
Yeah, it's quite flexy. It's quite thin. But you can see here where the spreader will go in under here. These pieces will actually remain as the foam wedge. So I'll actually keep the foam. This is a piece of foam with a paper template over it. So I'll actually cut this outside shape here, and I'm going to carbon some double bias over the foam and over the top radius, and then I will cut the slot out here, drop it over the spreader, which is glued onto the longeron, and yeah, as Annette said, I've got some flex because they're quite long and quite thin. You can see it wibbles and wobbles a little bit, but it's fine.
And then we're going through the beam.
Yep.
On the.
Yep. So I've got to also make a couple of slots in the beam for this to go through. So it'll actually get glued to the underside of the beam down low here, because the green tape is my trim line. So this will stick out the bottom of the beam and where the hull intersects, and then where it comes out the top of the beam here, I'll also glue that into the beam, so it'll be quite well bonded to the beam.
Cool, babe. Looks good. So
and it's substantially lighter than the 12mm stainless steel wire, which was 5 and a bit kilos from memory.
yeah.
And this is just under, just over a kilo, sorry.
All done now. We can finish this movie and put together, film the next bit of you trimming it up and putting it on the boat.
Yep.